am going to review a movie I thought would be good. Considering who it's about and the life this man led, I thought this movie would be good, or at least somewhat decent. However, I was wrong, left disappointed, and angered at the inaccuracies in this movie. And I'm talking about the TV movie from 1980, Bogie, about the life and times of Humphrey Bogart. Now, I've done a movie review on my channel here before on the movie Casablanca. And I like Humphrey Bogart movies. I don't review every single Humphrey Bogart movie because what's the point? To review every single Humphrey Bogart movie kind of leads you guys to not discover his other movies. However, I thought I'd review this movie, so if you ever stumble across this, you know just how bad this movie is. To its credit, it did get a few things accurate. It did get accurate his third and fourth and final marriage. His fourth marriage being his final marriage. It did get that right. It did get the movies he did right, the milestone films like The Maltese Falcon, Casablanca, you name it. Now, it got right that he died of esophageal cancer, even though they don't say the name of it. And they get right that he had 3 children. Other than that, here's my problems with the movie. First of all, let's talk about the actor who plays Bogart. Kevin O'Connor may have looked like Bogart, but he looked like a creepy version of Bogart. Because if you look at a picture of Humphrey Bogart, even when he had esophageal cancer, he looked like a suave guy, like a guy you would want to hang around with. Kevin O'Connor, on the other hand, looks like a guy that you want to avoid. As with the biggest metal pole you could think of. Because this guy looked not only creepy as Humphrey Bogart, but he looked like Humphrey Bogart if he were a rapist.
with the DNA.
So, not only did this guy look like Humphrey Bogart as a rapist, but they don't even say the name of what he had. They say the guy who plays the doctor in the movie, and I am not shitting you, he says to the guy playing Humphrey Bogart that he has I'm probably going to screw up this word, metastasized ulcers. Let's pause it right there. I'm no medical doctor, and I'm not a medical genius. However, I can tell the difference between a tumor and an ulcer. You can't die from ulcers. You can die from tumors. Ulcers stay with you for the rest of your life. They stay with you for the rest of your life, and they're a pain in the ass to manage. You could get them removed with surgery how many times you want to, but they always come back. So you get the point. They stay with you for life. They can't kill you. Tumors, on the other hand, can. So no tumor is metastasized. No ulcers metastasized, but tumors are. Now, see, here's the thing. It did get right that he had surgery to remove the metastasized tumors that were near his esophagus. Now, here's the problem, though. They don't say it's cancer. They don't say it's esophageal cancer that he was diagnosed with. And that's a problem, because if you're going to do a movie based on Humphrey Bogart or anybody that died of esophageal cancer, you need to mention the disease that they died from. Nobody can die from ulcers. People die from cancer, though. And look, I do want to mention something about what I do appreciate the movie not showing is how frail looking Humphrey Bogart got towards the end of his disease. I can appreciate the fact that they didn't show just how frail he got, because that is kind of disturbing if you read his friend, the testimonies of his friends who've seen him before he died. He was very frail looking, and he was not healthy looking. And the fact that the movie completely disguises that fact, okay, kudos. But my question is, did they interview anybody in his life? Did they interview any of his friends? Because they neglected to mention Frank Sinatra. And Frank Sinatra, who coincidentally carried the Rat Pack name in tribute to Humphrey Bogart when he started his music group in the 60s. But once again, that's besides the point. But they neglected the fact that Humphrey Bogart got the Screen Actors Guild to fully come into play. The movement for the Screen Actors Guild started with Boris Karloff, and then it really simmered out after a certain point because Boris Karloff might have been a popular guy amongst union actors or actors that want a union. He might have been a favorite of Universal Monsters fans, but he wasn't that big of a name to get the ball rolling for Hollywood to really listen to him. Because considering he was British and had a Turkish background, along with a British background, he was kind of seen as a foreign actor. So the studios didn't take him seriously. But Humphrey Bogart, who was an American actor, they did take him seriously on the other hand. So therefore, he started the Rat Pack. And in the, not Frank Sinatra's Rat Pack, but Humphrey Bogart's Rat Pack was a group of actors that wanted a union. And it's because of Humphrey Bogart that actors today have the Screen Actors Guild. And the film failed to mention that. That's one of the inaccuracies that, and one of the truths about Humphrey Bogart, not even mentioned in the movie. Because that's kind of important. That's a big milestone. Humphrey Bogart started the Screen Actors Guild, and the movie sweeps that under the rug. Well, that's not the only thing they ignored, but did they ever talk to Lauren Bacall? I mean, they got something from her book that she started managing visits of people who've seen Bogie before he died. That was accurate, because that was in her autobiography by herself, which is coincidentally the name of the book. But they didn't mention a lot of the actors who were close to him. And look, the movie script is the more horrendous side. Okay? Now, granted, This is from the 1980s. This is from a time and a decade where the best script writers were very hard to find. They were kind of like finding a needle in the haystack. If you could find a good scriptwriter, you stuck to them. But there weren't much good script writers for this movie. None at all. Can we talk about some of the dialogue in this movie? I'm just sick and tired of seeing this house shoe with the kids disappearing before my eyes. That's literally a line in the movie. A dying Humphrey Bogart says that. That's the most overdramatic line of any dying man in a movie. It's the ultimate trope of the dying man who's a husband and father. It's the ultimate trope that's in a movie like that. But, oh God, the dialogue is awful. The dialogue is goddamn awful. Humphrey Bogart was, in truth, more closer to his Rick character in Casablanca than any other character he'd done before. He was really a suave guy in public. So he had this attitude, cool as a cucumber, and he would have interesting conversations to have with people. The film neglects that side of him. And also, his children...
Whose money is this?
Mary's.
Money. I don't know whose it is.
His children, who also wrote books later on in their life about what life was with their father in the short time that they knew him. Not one time in their books did they mention he was abusive. But in this movie, they made Humphrey Bogart look like an abusive father. And he wasn't. Yeah, he might have been a much older man when he had kids, but he wasn't an abusive father. He loved his kids. And in fact, there's home videos that his kids have of him on the floor in his 50s playing toys with them. This is a man whose back was probably aching him every day because of his acting career. And yet he was on the floor every night playing toys with his kids. They don't show that in the movie. They don't portray him as the father he was to his children. They dramatize him to the point where he was an abusive son of a bitch.
How the war recorded to put up that bullshit.
And to credit, the only credit I could give this movie is that it got Lauren Bacall right. Because her autobiography came out when this movie was being written.
It was a good book.
So they got her right because they read her book. But they didn't get Bogart right regarding the countless biographies written by Bogart's friends that came out decades before. They neglected information. Oh, and my favorite part of the movie, which really irritated me, they mentioned the name of Casablanca, but they didn't show any recreations of the famous scene from the movie. They didn't show the final scene being recreated at all, which is the most iconic scene from any movie. Essentially, Bogie is bogus. I give it a grade of a D+. There are some good things about it, but mostly it's a horrendous film to watch. Especially if you're a Bogart fan, you're going to be appalled about how far distance it is from the actual Humphrey Bogart and who he was. Anyway, see ya.
It seems something.